few things that we'd like you to talk about today. First of all, family life. Kevin, you said that your granddad and your dad were both doctors.
And 3 uncles.
So we'd love to hear what type of personality, character they have, how they dressed, what you know about them and about life on the dock.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Like, obviously, as I said, my granddad and my dad and my 3 uncles all worked on the docks. In fact, it was strange if you didn't know somebody who worked on the docks, because technically, even though they weren't employed, it was the biggest job opportunity that you could get work, even though it was a casual system. Even the 7 miles of docks, you know, like my dad went from south to north. People used to go because they were scavenging the dock sides on both sides of the river trying to get work, and that was the only way they could put food on the table. And most of it would be by someone telling you if there was a ship due, and it was horrendous, you know, to think. When I look back retrospectively, I think now on the thought, I thought it was bad when I went down there, but I shudder to think what it was like for those people, like my granddad and my dad. I mean, again, without to repeat myself, is that I've come home from school. We used to have to go to my nanny's to see if she wanted a message, and I've been there. I mean, my granddad's come in, and I've actually pulled his boots off his feet. He's that tired, and it may not be for the amount of work that he might have done. It'd be the fact that I'd been walking all day trying to get work, and it was absolutely horrendous. You know, my nanny's door was locked at 9:30 at the day, at night. Doesn't matter what happens. Me auntie Kathleen, God love her, she used to live there when she first got married, and she had to go up and tell me or one of my brothers to go and tell my granddad or my nanny that Kathleen was in my mum's house in the tenements. Like, they lived on the top landing and we lived on the second landing, and more or less to say, leave the door, don't lock the door, because he'd just lock it, end of, because he had to be up early the next day. That was the thing, that he was out scavenging for work and stuff like that.
So he'd be in bed by by 10 o'clock, wouldn't
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
he?
What tenement did you live in?
I lived in King Gardens in the south end of the city. Well, when we went there, we lived in Cumbermere Street first, and we had no electricity. We had one cold water tap on the wall. We had a gas mantle, and obviously from that came a lead which made what my mother used to put the pans on. And I got scolded when I was a kid, you know, the whole lot came on top of me, sitting in front of it like that. Remember it like it was today. It was a Wednesday, because the shops used to be half day closing. And my mother went out when I came out from school. And I was just sitting there, my woolly socks, you know. And it just came right over on top of me. And for years, like, I always thought, how did that happen? Because if I would have hit it with my head or my hand or something, I would have said that was the reason why. But I couldn't stand. The only solution I came up with, because it was a big pan, because it's a load of us, there was potatoes in there. And this is my interpretation, I won't be far off, is that when the water evaporated, obviously the potatoes moved,
Yeah.
and they unbalanced the pan, and down it came on top of me, like that. And I remember jumping up, ripping my sock off, and when I went to the Southern Hospital, the doctor said if I wouldn't have took my sock off, there's a chance that the wool would have got inside, and he might have had to take my foot off. So that was it. And my mother, God love her, she used to take me every other day down to the hospital to get dressings on. She pushed me down the hill, and she pushed me up the hill again, you know. And my being a hero as I wasn't, she used to always buy me a custard slice and we used to have it together, me and my mum, because the rest were at school, and it was lovely. You know, you sort of little jolly things like that.
Can you describe what the tenement was like, what your home was like?
Yeah, well, the home that we lived, I started in Cumbermere Street. As I say, we lived there, no electricity, gas. The toilet was in the cellar, and we used to have the bathroom in front of the fire. It had a range like that type of thing. That was where the fire was, and you had the oven either side. Everything was done there. But to be quite honest, most of the cooking, because my nanny lived in the tenements, right? She was the second person in the tenements when they first opened up. And obviously they had all the facilities. They had electricity, you know, the full it. So we didn't have that, but most of the cooking me nanny used to do, and we'd have to bring it back from my nanny's to our house, you know, and stuff like that. But the thing that never changed, that stuck with me, was the fact, and by the way, the house, just how we come out of the house, right, was that as kids, my mother, she was a devoted Catholic, you know, and she had a friend who worked in the convent in Prince's Park, and as a cleaner, and obviously we had this big picture of the Sacred Heart in the bedroom. Talk about reverse psychology. So my mother, she made then the natural dried food tins, the baby food was in, the tins like about that big, you know. So my mother made an altar, put the two on, and put a candlelight away. And obviously, as you know, when it comes to bedtime, you don't want to go to bed. When it comes to getting up, you don't want to get up. But nevertheless, you know, my mother used to, she was smart, you know. So say I'd lit the candles last night. She said, come on Kevin, it's your turn to light the candle. Ah, Tony. You go, no it isn't Mum, it's my turn. He done it. And so that's how she got us all up to bed. Right, amazing. So she'd light it, the candles, and we'd so-called say our prayers, you know. And I always remember my dad, you know, and my mum, that when they walk away, they say, and say a prayer for your mum and dad, you know what I mean? They always said that, you know. But anyway, what happened is that when that was going on, but it was nothing to do with that at all. The reason why, we had no electricity. So as kids, when you went to bed, you would be all over the bed and you scrambled all over the place like this, and you know. And on the hour virtually, my mum or my dad would come up to see what we were all right. Said, come on, get asleep and all that. And he came up this one particular night, and our Tony was in the bed, sprawled out, and there's a rat going across and walking across him like that. So that was the end really. But the reason why the candles were there was to keep the rats away with the light. It was nothing to do with the altar, nothing to do with anything like that. That's what it was. And then we were out within basically 24 hours because Bessie Braddock was the local MP at the time, and she came to our house, and we were out, and we were moved into the tenements. Well, when we moved into the tenements, although we knew about them, we thought we wanted pools, because obviously we had flush water, we had a competition to see how many times you could pull the chain and all that business. And as you know, when you switch a light on, you press as the button goes down. But if you, as a kid, if you ever tried turning it off, it's murder when you could push it up that way. But we were excited because we had electricity. We'd never had it before, and all stuff like that. So that was the progression for us. In so much as that we moved into the tenements, into a 3-bedroom. Then a few years later, we moved into a 4-bedroom. When the tenements are like that, the houses in the corner, they all had 4 bedrooms. So because the amount of kids we had, you know, there were 7 of us in total, kids, and so we had that. But it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. We never had a clock really in our house, because the way the flat was situated, right? That side we could look at Camel Airs, straight across the Camel Airs, right across the river. We once at the time, my mum would say, go and see what time it is, Kevin. So I'll go into the bottom bedroom, which at the corner, you looked at the live clock. So we just look at the live clock and go 10 to 4, mum, like that, and come back. that was the way. And that was just it. You wanted to know the time. That was it.
The women were strong, weren't they?
Oh, that was
No, you're saying,
one woman to 5 men any
Yeah.
day.
you were saying about Bessie Braddock.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma knocked her out.
All right, okay.
It was just
And her
after.
husband, Jack. Her husband, he said her husband was named Jack.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
The story that I was told, they were having a meeting somewhere. I don't know what it was all about, and it was. I don't know how long she'd been going or when she started up, but my mum said it was something to do with the soldiers, after the war.
Yeah.
Now my old fella was in Burma, and that, like they call that the Forgotten Army,
Yeah.
and she was rabbiting on about what all these soldiers were getting, blah blah blah. And my grandma stood up and said, what about like the Forgotten Army? And the one thing led to another, and Bessie Braddock was given a load. My ma just planted them on. And she got arrested. And my granddad had to go and bail her out of them.
But Bessie Braddock, you see, she had the reputation of always fighting for the underdog. Like in the South End, right? Because she had what they call exchange ward. We're not doing the geography of it. It was all town.
Yeah.
And in them days, if you lived wherever you lived and you had a business, you had 2 votes. So you voted where you lived and you voted in the town for your shop or your office or whatever the thing was. Right. So Bessie Braddock was exchange, and she was because she was a patron in the club that I was in, the Pegasus, and every year we used to do like as an acknowledgement. We used to put a show on for them, and so you'd have Bessie Braddock, you'd have the chief constable, his name was Smith, you'd have Judge Lasky, right? He was a frightener, right? And people of that ilk, right? And they'd come along, and we'd do, you know, it could be you 3 singing, right? You sing a couple of songs, that's great, you know, and we'd be sort of doing a little bit of something else. We'd do a little bit of boxing, or it was just to show the wears and tears of the club off to them. And we loved it. So she used to come. She was the patron of you, but she always fought for the underdogs.